Don't throw away your controller. Repair it. Game controller most likely one of the few stuff that easily repaired by your own. So today's video is just about repairing my own Gulikit Pro controller. It's actually a good controller, but this button actually has become a touch button. First is open up your controller. Use guitar pick or pry tools to open. Now remove the connection of the vibrator to the board and remove the ribbon cable between the board. It will be a bit difficult to remove the first board due to joystick at the front. Now, remove the battery. It was stuck on a double-sided tape. If it's too hard, just proceed to remove the battery holder. You should disconnect the battery in the first place before detaching the first board, but in my case, I find it difficult, so I removed the battery after the first board. Now, remove more screw from the second board. Now, remove power pairing button and trigger button before removing the second board. Gently pull out the second board. It will block by bumper button, but readjust the button to make a way. The broken switch is 6x6x5 90 degrees tactile switch. It's actually the same switch as the joystick tactile switch, but 90 degrees. It's also the same type in Xbox controller. Before we proceed, make sure you have these things. You can get soldering kit for cheap, about $15. But most important, you should have soldering iron, solder flux or solder wax, desoldering wick or desoldering pump. Additionally, you also want rubbing alcohol, Q-tips, and a mask. If you think this is once a year DIY project, you can get USB soldering iron for $15 for a very small DIY fixes. Remove the existing solder on the switch by heating and sucking it with solder pump. Since I will not use the broken switch again, I just clip the excess legs on the board for easier removal. In this case, the switch was still held by the old solder, so I just hit the leg and pull it out bit by bit. After that, slot in the new switch. It should slot in easily unless you still have old soldering in the hole. Solder the first two legs at the front and not the housing leg. Connect the second board. You also need to connect the battery for this particular controller or else it's not detected by PC. I use gamepad tester to test my controller. Overall, it's working perfectly. The button feels different than the original bumper, but I can accept it. You are basically done at this point. After solder another two legs on the new switch, remove the leftover solder flux with rubbing alcohol. Now, we can start the simple mod for this controller. Lightly lube the bottom of the key and the side of the key. Lightly lube because less is more. You can use dielectric lube, which usually used in keyboard community, but don't put in between the carbon pad to the board because the lube is insulated. Once you are done, you can screw the bumper button, power button and the second board. Apply lube to the trigger button, especially the bottom, because it always touches the controller shell. Again, less is more. Connect back the ribbon cable and slot in the first board. I forgot that the vibrator motor can be removed from the shell, so you can actually remove the motor and position it on the front shell for easier assembly. Once you screw everything, start testing again. You might get this result the first time you connect to the PC. Good thing is, Gulikit has recalibration function. You will get this problem if you didn't disconnect first before calibration. It's not controller issue, it's just old calibration not updated by the PC. This after you disconnect, calibrate and reconnect to the PC. Right controller has issue, but this expected for potentiometer joystick, which is the common joystick. I'll keep testing this for another 30 minutes just to satisfy my last. Side by side the old Gulikit controller and the new controller. I think that's all about it, and See ya.